Hi guys, today we're going to be learning the alternating square knot. So today we're going to learn the alternating square knot, which is a foundation knot for many designs. So we're going to start by creating a square knot here with the first 4 pieces of yarn. So you might be familiar with creating a square knot. Even if you're not, this should be quite easy to follow, tying the knot quite slowly, so you should be able to follow how to do this. So the first 4 pieces, tie this into a square knot and just pull this tight. So you'll be creating a line of square knots now across the top. So this is such a good knot to learn. It's just a real foundation knot that's used in so many different pieces, and you'll just find you use it in so many projects. I use it all the time in wall hangings, if I'm creating bags, all sorts of different things, all sorts of different designs. So it's a really good knot to learn. So it's just a case now of sort of working your way across, continuing with your square knot, creating a nice row of square knots along the top. Obviously it will depend on the amount of yarn that you're using or how many pieces you have. You may go on a little bit longer, but I'm just going to be creating 4 square knots along the top, keeping the consistency and the tension the same. So once you've done your first row of 4, it's now about joining these 4 with another row. So what you do, you leave the first 2 strands and move to the next 4. So this is using 2 strands from one knot and 2 strands from another knot, and you're joining those 2 knots together. So exactly the same, another square knot, just as you've done previously, and it will just be linking the 2 previous knots together. So just work your way along, take the next 4 strands, do exactly the same, and this will create a row of 3. So you can see how the knots are starting to alternate, and it's just bringing all the cords together. So now you're onto your 3rd row. So this will be a row of 4 square knots. So following exactly the same pattern, taking the first 4 pieces of yarn and just tying them into square knots, working your way across so you have 4 square knots. So these will be sitting directly below the first 4 that you did. So you can see how it's starting to take shape now. So now moving on to the next row and doing exactly the same as before. So you're leaving the first 2 cords, and then you're taking 2 cords from one knot, 2 cords from the next knot, and tying a square knot. So you'll be starting another row of 3. So if you're using the same amount of cords as me today, you should have a row of 4 knots, a row of 3 knots, a row of 4 knots, and now a row of 3 knots. So now working our way again from the left with a square knot with the first 4 pieces of yarn. Moving along, another square knot. You can see the pattern starting to take shape now. It's just a really good pattern to learn. It's used, like I said, it's used in so many different projects. So finishing this alternating square knot pattern here with one last square knot. So hopefully this has been useful. Hopefully you'll use this in many different projects, and hopefully you've learnt something today. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. See you again.